Hello and welcome to the Dinosaw for week 37. Another 7 curious, interesting things I saw last week. So let's crack on. First one is Facebook getting into the debt collection business. Never thought I'd see this, but that's what they've done. So they've teamed up with CrowdZ, who run essentially an auction portal for invoices. So the way this works is if you're a small business and normally you have maybe 30 to 60 days terms to get paid by one of the people who bought services from you, and you can't wait for that, maybe you just want to invest it or reinvest it in your company sooner, then you can sell the invoice to Facebook now. So they've put aside $1 million to pay for this, and essentially what they do is you pay them 1%, and they then take on following up on that debt and getting paid for it. So that's weird. But there you go. Interesting new business model from Facebook. Never thought I'd see that. There are some really interesting stipulations in this. You have to be a accredited company. It's US only at the moment, but also you have to be majority owned by either an ethnic minority, women, service veterans. You might also be LGBTQ plus and or have a disability. So very, very interesting scheme. Launching, I think, October. So there, business model expansion by Facebook. Amazon have launched their TV. So this is their Omni series, and there's also a Series 4, which is a slightly reduced featured version of it. So there are, I think, 6 versions of this. I think 6, but basically, or 5 versions, but across the 2 series. There are 43-inch TVs all the way up to 75-inch TVs, spanning a range of $370 up to just over $1,000, and they've got all the widgets and gadgets in there. So obviously, it's it plays Amazon nicely, but it also is voice controlled. Will work with your home gadgets, and basically has video calling and all that good stuff in it as well. Again. Something about October. This is launched in October as well. So there you go. So that's kind of interesting. As I say, 2 series. There's an Omni series and Series 4. Just the Series 4 is slightly kind of less stylish and has a few less features in it. But other than that, there you go. Amazon proving that the TV is still very much alive. A tech forum update from Apple. Please do not attach your mobile phones to your motorcycles. I do this regularly, as you can see. However, it turns out that actually it degrades the actual physical hardware of your iPhone, specifically the optical image stabilization and closed loop autofocus. So these gyros and automatic stabilizers to essentially detect motion, and then if it detects motion, it sort of re-evaluates the camera position. And obviously, if it's jiggling about with a very high vibration all the time, it degrades that hardware. So as vague as they've said is if you have a high-powered motorcycle, and they've not really specified what that means, but they basically said if you've got an electric vehicle and or a low-powered motorcycle, then you should be fine. But there you go. So it turns out that real life will kill your phones if you have a motorcycle. This is a little nerdy, but I thought I'd put it in there because it was quite an interesting read. Please do follow the link. This is talking about sort of deep learning and neural nets, and the way that they are not particularly useful right now. So we hear a lot about them, but we don't really dig into them. And we sort of cross them up with things like algorithms and that sort of thing. So if you're a coder, by the way, I do apologise for this screenshot. So I just thought that was funny because it was basic on the other side. However, what this means is if you have an algorithm, it is relatively predictable. If you say, here's an algorithm, take an input, copy it and output it, you know what it's going to do. Whatever the input is, it will copy it. It turns out that deep learning and neural nets can't really have that much of a predictable output. So the problem is that they're not predictable and they can't generalize, as it's called. So if you scan lots of pictures of cats, and you can't guarantee that the next picture of a cat that you put into a neural net will actually get flagged as a cat. So what the people at DeepMind, so those are the famous people who built the AlphaGo machines, all that sort of stuff, is they're then actually trying to teach neural nets to be more like algorithms, which sounds bizarre, but I thought it was a really, really interesting article. Actually prizes the two apart. Algorithms, super useful, but possibly restricted, and they don't really make those connections that will surprise you, whereas neural nets will make the things that will They'll surprise you, but you probably won't get the output you really want, and therefore they're not particularly useful right now. So this could actually be the holy grail of deep learning, is to actually use old school algorithms to create new and interesting hybrids. There you go. So this is in football news. So this is Tottenham Hotspurs and Chelsea in the Premier League and Sky have teamed up to make the next match between Spurs and Chelsea a net carbon zero game. So you'd think, okay, well, great, they're just going to plant some trees somewhere across the world, and yes, that is part of it, but actually there's quite a lot going on in this as well. I think Tottenham is also already the greenest club in the Premiership or Premier League, so that's interesting. But what else are they doing? So everything from on the day, so the lighting in the stadium, the reusable cups, for instance. They have water-free urinals. I think also Chelsea has a title sponsor, Hyundai, who are providing cars and charging points and all sorts of things. So whatever they can't actually reduce on site, and by the way, they're also rewilding things like UK forests and in the location of Tottenham, for instance, putting more trees in. So I thought this was absolutely great. I mean, the reason this really sort of piqued my interest is I used to do a deck about what is the future, and in 3 years' time we will be seeing more carbon neutral events. And it's 3 years since I did that, so I was like, that actually worked. So there you go. So the point is we should be seeing this more, and it's not just the we will buy carbon credits part of it, is we'll make actual tangible differences local to the game itself. So that is good. Facebook have got another mention in the Dinosaw this month, or this week. So this is in partnership with Ray-Ban. So this is their smart specs. Now, if you've seen Snapchat spectacles, this is exactly the same. Of course it's not, because this is brand new, obviously, because it's brand new, and it's Facebook. But essentially what it is, it can take videos, it can take photos, it can receive calls, and it has speakers in the actual armbands the arms itself. You can actually then make calls. So, but don't worry, it's not creepy at all, because there's a white LED, as you can see on screen, when it's taking a photo. So therefore your privacy will always be forefront. Now, this will probably go the same route as Snapchat, because basically Snapchat spectacles haven't caught a light. I have 2 sets of them set off to my right now. Now, this isn't the AR version we were hoping, so the one with screens and it can point out people, which I think will be even more of a hoo-ha. However, it's stylish, it's with Ray-Bans, they are available, a couple of $100, you can buy them right now. Yeah, privacy, they've been taken seriously, by the way. Apparently, the way it's taken seriously is the 3 things as far as I can see. It's the LED to show you when people are actually videoing or taking pictures of you. The images or the videos are held securely on the phone until you download them, so they're not automatically transferred. And thirdly, that's pretty much it. There's a power switch. So they say when it's turned off, they're not smart, which I think is an amazing feature. And finally, we have the Roomba J7 Plus. So this now uses a front-facing camera to detect, amongst other things, dog poos. So you may remember a couple of years ago, probably about 4 years ago, there was a sort of a poo-apocalypse, or whatever it was called, where somebody actually showed the results of their Roomba hitting a dog poo and then smearing it around in a beautifully sort of robotic way around their floor. Obviously the people at Roomba have now figured that out, and they've now used AI for probably the most useful thing I've seen this year, is to avoid dog poo in your house. There you go. So if you've not got one of these yet, I haven't, because we've got a dog, I don't trust it, but there you go, Roomba. Hopefully that was useful, hopefully it was interesting, and I will see you next week.